Hi, this is Salim Bharti, and welcome to another episode of TFR Insights. And today we have with us Joe Nestor, Senior Director at D2iQ, and Sunny Ann, co-founder of Silverthread. First of all, Joe and Sunny, welcome to the show. Recently, Silverthread and D2iQ, you have a partnership. Tell me a bit about partnership, both from Silverthread perspective and D2Q perspective, and then we'll also talk about what it means for the customers.
Well, thanks again for having us. Silverthread's focus is actually supporting companies and understanding the quality of their software. And we've been at this for the better part of 15 years. And one of the challenges that a lot of companies have is just understanding the way in which software works. But oftentimes what you'll find is that companies struggle to produce features or get products out in a quick way, and a lot of times it's the technical debt that accumulates underneath. So the things that we have been doing about helping companies support the improvement and the refactoring of software, but one of the things that has occurred in our deployment of our tools is that the number one use case for all these things that we do, from understanding, assessing the quality of software, then to kind of refactor it, the number one use case for us has been the cloud. How do we, and so from our standpoint, understanding what the needs of the customers are, beyond just refactoring or in many ways replatforming, we should understand, at least from our perspective, why the customer is going down that track. And the cloud, again, is the number one use case that we have seen that they are struggling with. And so it's just natural for us to find the best of breed partner that knows cloud migration, certainly day two operations around that. And it was a natural fit for us in D2iQ of where those two companies matched.
I will come to you, Joe. Just give me a minute here. Sunny, when we look at this, the cloud migration or digital transformation, I'm not talking about analysts and all those reports that come out. You work directly with customers. So, if you look at market, how many players are there who are already in their cloud, either cloud native or digital transformation journey, versus there are a lot of companies who are still either evaluating or still moving. So how does the whole picture look like?
That's a great question. We've been spending quite a bit of time in both the commercial and in the DoD environments. And it's actually pretty, it's something that's on top of mind of everyone. I think the challenge has been there is a different understanding about what cloud means and why people do it. Typically what we've heard is that, okay, it's easier, it's a cost-driven exercise, we should just migrate to it. But I think one of the things that in many discussions that I've had with Joe is it really is a journey. This notion about what the real benefits of the cloud are, about elements of better, faster times to delivery or enhancements for innovation. You're just more flexible and agile. But the struggle that I've seen right now is that, okay, we'll just lift and shift, right? Rehosting. And that's enough. Reality is that isn't enough. I think people oftentimes have a misunderstanding about what cloud means and how to get there. And in the discussions I've had and all the workings with D2iQ, they get it. Now, we're trying to learn as quickly as we can with the customers, but it's such a simplified way that they have as far as thinking about not only the journey, in a cloud native way, but really simply articulating the steps. And I think that's been big struggle for a lot of the customers. Even though they all talk about it, people are moving over there. They really need an expert guide along the journey. And that's why I get so jazzed up about this relationship, because in many ways it really does support both of our missions.
Right. And now, Joe, D2iQ, you went through the name change from Mesos to D2iQ, and that is all about, day two operations. So what role do companies like Silverthread play in helping customers to smoothen their migration journey? Where do they come into picture, and how do they help kind of not only embrace, but, leverage these cloud native technologies?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's central to why we were so interested in forming this partnership. So what we both have observed, right? So D2iQ is a leading provider of enterprise grade platforms for containerized workloads, cloud native workloads. But very often what we have seen with customers going down the path of cloud and cloud native is they maybe jump to an approach a little bit too early. And often that approach is lift and shift. Let's grab it all. Let's drop it in a VM and move it, right? So when we got together with Sunny and the Silverthread team, started having conversations, the light bulb clicked on immediately, right? So as an expert in cloud native, and then getting to that desired end state of cloud native and D2Ops, we get very often asked on the front end to help with the consultative side of this entire journey. And what Silverthread does an exemplary job of is helping establish a baseline understanding of your environment before you jump to that lift and shift approach, right? So as we wanted to take a step back and look at how to best help our customers do this the smartest way possible, we thought, boy, what makes more sense than starting with a baseline of my enterprise? Understand where my tech debt is, understand what maybe isn't fit for the cloud. And as we looked at what was available and what was best of breed, we landed on Silverthread. So we thought it was a beautiful complement. I mean, certainly we would love for everybody we engage to work with us on their cloud native journey. But before they even make those decisions, let's help them get to a baseline understanding of their enterprise with the lens of cloud in mind. And that's exactly where we see the perfect place to start is with that consultative approach, aligning with Silverthread's capability to help give them the right perspective as they engage so that they don't waste a ton of time and resources and never get where they're trying to go.
As Sunny was already saying, that it's more or less like a journey. So even if you do go through your digital transformation or cloud native, whichever word you want to call it, the thing is these technologies itself are evolving so fast. If you're in the cloud native world, there will be a new project in CNCF almost on weekly or monthly basis. So you also have to keep up with those projects. And as you were saying, the customers may want to dip their toes in everything. But dipping your toes, playing with it is different versus, does it actually add any value to your business? So how do you also help them kind of play with new technologies, new buzzword, but also actually bring them in production? Or your job ends at looking at their technical debt and telling them, hey, how much refactoring is needed?
From our standpoint, obviously we're focused on the software and the geometry and the structure of what the software is, and oftentimes, it's one of these things that software never kind of is done, right? It's always evolving, it's always changing, and thinking about this in the context of its evolvability as well, right? So that when we think about software, the tendency, unfortunately, is that you add in features, you grow your team, these things get bigger and bigger. And this concept of modules or modularity starts to, you lose sight of that. And so one of the natural things that we have seen over time is the ability to kind of, create bite-sized chunks so that, developers can actually work in environments where, their team knows what's going on and that if I work here, it doesn't impact, 20 other places unintentionally. So one of the things that we like because, cloud naturally, the whole migration of the microservices fits nicely into this concept of modularity. And the one tenet that Silverthread looks at is around the architecture, the design of software. And those two are very much in sync and parallel so that the long-term journey that anyone goes, particularly from a cloud perspective, we hope isn't just rehosting. It's really kind of looking this way where the software nicely works alongside other things, databases and the infrastructure, but in a nice modular way that if over time certain things need to be updated or evolved, you can actually remove this piece, put in a new one, and the system still continues on. Because the challenge sometimes, at least in a lot of these code bases and systems that we see, they become very monolithic and very difficult to evolve. So that's certainly from our perspective how we see it and how it ties so nicely into this long-term view about microservices, because modularity is very, very much complementary to that strategy.
Yeah, and sort of piggybacking on that, we've just made a very firm commitment to ourselves and to our customers that as we build and compile solutions for our customers and for the market, that we stay the course of remaining as pure to the open source community as we can. And one of the net byproducts of that, and this is what we get as feedback all the time from our customers, is the flexibility that comes with these solutions, right? So that swappable and modular build, it has that huge positive effect of being able to expose new and different technologies to your environment and do it in a fairly lightweight fashion. And it also helps get you out from underneath of a dreaded, very, very heavy, expensive, and locked technology stack that's been provided from maybe a big monolithic vendor and or a big system integrator who went down a very, very long and enduring path of a custom build when we engaged Sonny on the front end, this was a big finding for him throughout the Department of Defense, was the number of custom build software applications that came from a single source that became very, very archaic very quickly, but that customers were candidly stuck on. So they weren't able to innovate anywhere close to real time. And they had this now long-term relationship with the single vendor who provided that proprietary solution, which, relationships and capabilities change all the time, particularly in our world. So, we have been and will remain committed to that modularity to capitalize on the flexible needs of our customers, and as importantly, to ensure that when new and innovative technology enters the cloud-native landscape, there is a very clear, clean, and easy path to embracing and pulling that innovation into the ecosystem for our customers.
Now, if you look at companies who are moving towards cloud or digital transformation, what are some of the kind of mistakes that you see that they often make that you would advise against? Any specific patterns that you see there?
I'll take first swag at it, Sonny. I think one of the good, the bad, and the ugly with cloud, right? I think we would all agree that one of the implied advantages with single cloud service providers is they are representative of the easy button, right? I need a database service. I can go into my marketplace, I can grab it, and off I go. And there's wonderful value in that from a speed and agility perspective. However, what becomes increasingly challenging, particularly for our larger governmental customers who have a need to deliver capability beyond a singular infrastructure environment, is if a dependency becomes too critical on a single vendor-provided service, and the inability exists to scale that beyond that single cloud service provider environment, we now have a customer finding a way to try to replicate that capability in a new environment with a very, very expensive, complicated build-out process that adds massive amounts of latency to their mission sets as well. So the flip side, right, is how do I leverage clouds in all the right way to get the efficiencies and the cost savings, but maybe not go too far down a path with certain critical capabilities so that those capabilities maintain the flexibility I need to be delivered anywhere, right? And this is one in particular in large customers. We see that cloud first is not going to be where they end. They will maintain data centers. They will absolutely need multiple cloud providers in their ecosystem, right? So figuring out how to strike that balance is hard, but understanding that I want clouds for certain things, but not for everything, because I need flexibility to deliver my applications across my enterprise, even into, call it, air-gapped environments, right? These are very real use cases we see. Often, though, when we engage customers, they've already gone a little bit too far down the path with a single CSP service, and now they're trying to untangle it so they can serve up that kind capability to other environments in their ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, building off of what Joe was saying, I concur on that. I think for us, there are oftentimes, at least with some of the clients that we've dealt with, is just being clear about what their strategy is, as a starting point. Why are we doing the things that we're doing? Why is cloud important? the elements around that, and having an appropriate expert guide, I think oftentimes is important. People that have done it time and time again. That's why, again, D2iQ is perfect. Our element, though, is that some of the things that we have seen is that some organizations just make a unilateral decision to go to the cloud. We're going to go to the cloud without really thinking about the effort, the baseline view, a proper understanding of what you have. And oftentimes that's where, as Joe was saying, just getting a simple baseline based off of the strategy you have combines together to just make a much more informed decision about what to do. Because sometimes we have seen people that have migrated not really understanding what they're doing, and all of a sudden the time requirement, I didn't know that. I had wished I'd known that prior as far as the journey. And so for us, defining clearly why you're doing a cloud migration, for that matter, the elements about just simply understanding what you're dealing with, baseline views. And then again, it's a journey aspect. It's just, it's never done, really. Part of this is really understanding what it takes and getting the right kind of resources behind it. But it reinforces why this partnership that we are thinking, it just plays right into the needs and some of the challenges that we have seen, needing that expert, almost a facilitator, journey person along the way. It just makes a lot of sense. But, those are things that we've seen missteps in the past 5 years that we've been doing this.
And if I can add one more thing, right? I sit here and I articulate hybrid multi-cloud, and the other thing we hear a lot from customers is, yeah, that sounds great, but it just feels entirely too complicated. And this is precisely why we have made such a concerted effort to really hone expertise against Kubernetes, right? Because from our optic, Kubernetes is many wonderful things. One, it's beautifully innovative. It's got a ton of innovation going on within its ecosystem all day, every day. But we see that as the critical technology for cloud native capabilities that really makes hybrid multi-cloud a true operational reality. And as we've gotten more and more proficient, we're now demonstrating that true day two scale on the back of a Kubernetes platform for these containerized future state applications. So, yes, hybrid multi-cloud as concepts are great. They brief well. For D2iQ, Kubernetes is the tie that binds, right? And actually makes that all a true operational reality. And enter our position in the market is helping now make Kubernetes less of an obscurity, because it is complicated, but we are particularly proficient at it. And now we can make Kubernetes happen as an operational reality, which in turn makes hybrid multi-cloud happen as an operational reality.
Sunny, you said something interesting that I know was when you're preparing, that why you are doing that. Once you realize why you're doing it, what are the other things that companies should keep in mind to better prepare themselves to migrate to the cloud? Because it's refactoring and it's a Herculean task in itself. So there's no room for mistakes. And also you need to maintain the business continuity also. You cannot just shut down the shop because you are migrating.
Well, again, we have a view on the things that we do from a software improvement standpoint. I would actually be very interested to hear kind of Joe's response. We believe that from just the pureness of software, things should be modular. They should be kind of hierarchical. They should be kind of appropriately layered, right? Because one of the things that we see that, again, over time, software has a tendency to kind of ball up. You probably have heard words like spaghetti code and the like, where, again, you touch one area, it breaks in other bits. So how do you translate that from the standpoint of just good software practices, good architecture, good design? And one of the things that we have been focusing on then is to kind of correlate that to kind of performance and the like. So beyond just having a good strategy perspective, it's knowing, again, what you have and then cycling in an idea about what the resources are going to be required to kind of do that. Because if certain things are, again, architecturally hosed up as we think about it, We can help certainly identify that and make a call. We've got ROI tools, funny enough, software to ROI tools, which I had, when we came to the market, I had not seen that. So the ability to kind of get financial measurements around what it takes to actually refactor a particular piece of software. So translating that into ROI bits about what the effort might be when you do a particular migration, but really for us more of a refactoring. Those are things that we can help support in concert with some of the things that obviously Joe and his team kind of do from the standpoint of, is this thing really cloud ready? What are other dimensions of it, databases and other things, might make it appropriate for migration to containers? These are things that we are looking to learn from Joe and provide those supporting elements to our clients beyond just the actual nature of the software.
Yeah, and look, we would start with a very simple disposition, right? Which is for any and all of our customers, we see often this prevailing assertion that I've got to get it all to the cloud. And we try to help people take a step back and say, look, there is going to be certain things that just maybe don't make sense for a number of different reasons that Sunny articulated, right? The cost in and of itself may be too dire. The disruptive nature of this undertaking may be something that the mission cannot tolerate. So, right out of the gate, and again, credit to the public clouds in particular, like for a very long time, cloud first was the prevailing strategy. Get everything into the cloud. And our contention as people who consider ourselves particularly expert at cloud and cloud native is, look, there is going to be a component of your enterprise that may never make sense in the cloud. But before we even determine that, let's get a baseline understanding of our enterprise and of our software and of our tech debt. And that's, once again, coming full circle on the partnership, exactly the right time to begin engaging a organization like Silverthread. Start with that critical baseline and all of those different types of learnings in lieu of jumping in head first and trying to get it all to the cloud. So, once again, why this relationship made tons of sense is because we had observed many missteps from large organizations, and we ultimately have the same feeling, right? Which is that, yes, the cloud is wonderful and should be leveraged to the hilt for many, many things. But you must understand the bigger and more complex your enterprise is, there will be a number of capabilities you have that are just never going there. And we are seeing the tide turn, right? Like we're starting to see big organizations really understand that. But boy, what are we 10 plus years into this thing? And it's now that bigger understanding is showing. And we even see, we focus a lot on big government, even big government, right? Revising 8 years later, a cloud first strategy to a cloud smart strategy, based on these very, very critical perspectives that have been born out of a market who's really been beaten on cloud for quite a while now.
You would think that, hey, now everybody understands why they should, move to the cloud. Or, cloud is not a silver bullet. You should not move all your workload to the cloud, but you should have a hybrid cloud strategy. You have your data center, you have your digital software. Do you still, as you do mention, that there's still this struggle about, educating companies, especially in the public sector, that why you should move to the cloud or you should have a digital transformation strategy? So what would be, it kind of feels ironic that we are still talking about it today, but, what are the things that you still tell them that why you should do that? It's because it keeps you on the innovative edge, because you can embrace latest technologies, you can move faster. Government agencies, they don't have to worry about competing with each other, but they can become more efficient, So talk about some of the things that you still try to sell them that, hey, this is why you should have this strategy in place.
Sure. And actually, Sunny, since you tend to be on the front end of the consultative side, do you want to start with that? And then again, I'll jump in and
Yeah, Sunny, I want to hear your opinion on that.
To me, it's of course, there's similarness that we're starting to see on both commercial and the federal side. And I think it's interesting how there are now data-driven ways to kind of really understand what you have, right? In the past, it's been a struggle to kind of think about, software or IT for that matter, and people have processes in place. And so For me, the conversation has really somewhat changed, at least the way we have been not only presenting ourselves, but the way in which customers are kind of, had I had that, that would have informed my decision. So these data-driven exercises of using tool sets is something that we are starting to see that is, particularly in the federal side, has never really happened up until probably the past 3 or 4 years. And, getting simple, baseline views about what you have as a good kind of baseline to then make informed decisions. I think that is something that, for me, behaviorally, I just get very, very, inspired by. People are starting to get that. I think people also, the vendors that are providing that, are also changing behavior, right? So, a lot of our business is in the federal side. So some of the big SI players or people that are actually doing software, they're starting to do it in the betterment of the government. And so with these tools, because it's been hard not to see what's under the hood, and you've got these strategies of pushing forward. I think there really is change now, and really inspired by that about, the love of data, the, machine learning, the AI aspects of what you can do to actually make better decisions. And again, like Joe said, the decision is always to move to the cloud, but I think the more information that you have informs that decision with the context of, is this system mission critical, or maybe it's maintenance mode, and all the elements around that. I think that's the one thing I'm starting to see is just the behaviors of using tools that just get smarter. And again, it's not the full answer. It gives you a lens into some of the issues that may be involved there that then put in the hands of, experts like Joe and his team, I think then can just, really be much more efficient and much more productive about what one needs to do to really take full advantage of what that cloud migration really means.
Yeah, and what I would offer as a perspective as well, and getting back to the core of the question, fortunately, I think, obviously I say fortunately because we're big proponents of cloud and cloud native. Even within the government, even within the state governments, right? I think we're beyond the why cloud conversation. I think everybody at all levels is very open to cloud will be a component of what I do as I move forward. So I think that's done. And credit to the big cloud providers probably as much as anybody for spending years helping educate. And then obviously all the big innovative companies have embraced it and driven game-changing technology to our lives. Where I see, particularly within the public sector right now, is a much bigger focus on what, and by that what I mean is what's in and what's out for cloud. That's a big part of their journey right now. And then how to do it in the most effective way. And that's been informed by a lot of what we've talked about here, which is maybe started with a little bit of a misstep or a cloud first approach, and now walking that back a little bit and going, okay, not doing that anymore. What's in, what's out, and enter Silverthread to provide a really, really informed decision there. And then the how being, what's the best way to do this to ensure I'm not landing on a cloud environment with mounds of tech debt or still something that's big, bulky, and heavy because I didn't do this in the right way. So I see a lot more about what to send and how to send it in the smartest way possible as central to where the folks are in their journey towards cloud. But again, fortunately, we're beyond the whole why. I think everybody's there. Their headspace is around cloud as a component of what they're going to be doing moving forward.
Sunny and Joe, thank you so much for taking your time out today and talking about not only this partnership, but also this whole digital transformation journey and the missteps and what they should do right. And also, cloud is not the silver bullet. That is the only place where you should just move everything. So thanks for explaining everything in detail. And I look forward to talk to you, both of you, again at some point in the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time and for what you're doing. This is obviously important work, and look forward to seeing more of your podcasts and your interviews as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for the time and the opportunity to share the way we think about the world and for providing us a platform to do so.